to card number 3 of my summer card series. So I started off with this little image from the CC Designs Sugar Plums Beach Kit. I'd stamped her onto the white cardstock with Memento ink, and then I used my Eclipse tape to stamp it again, trimmed it out, and masked the image because I'm going to use my Copic airbrush. And you can see there I just tested it out on a scrap of paper first, and I didn't have it set in there properly. And I'm just using BG13. You can usually go a little bit darker than you think when you're airbrushing because it's obviously so diffused that it turns out lighter. But I airbrushed a little bit of like some sky as the background, and then I left the mask on and inked up the umbrella, and this is also from the Beach Kit stamp set. So I inked that up with a Memento ink as well, and then just stamped it on top. So it looks like quite the mess, and then cleaned up the ink that I got on my mat because otherwise all my other paper is going to pick it up. And then just made sure it's dry so I don't wreck anything. And then I just use my detail scissors to pull the mask off, and you're left with that. So I'm not worried about the umbrella. I've got a whole plan going on here. But once I've got my background done, I'm going to color in everything. So starting with the skin, always start with the skin. It's just kind of a habit with me. I laid down E00 as my base, and then I went in with E01 and then E13, and then go back and blend the E13 with my E01. So got that blended, and then go back with my E00 and blend everything together again. So it's all nice and blended, and then I go in with my R20 for a little bit of pink for her cheeks, and then very lightly went over that with the E00 to blend it. And now onto her hair. I thought I'd try something different. Even though her hair technically isn't drawn to be curly, I was like, oh, why not? I'm just going to do something different. So I'm just scribbling color on. No rhyme or reason. I grabbed colors kind of at random almost. Still kind of, I was going for almost like the strawberry blonde sort of look. And this would honestly look even better if you scribble it on and let every color fully dry before you went on to the next one, so then they wouldn't blend so much together. But I was kind of in a hurry when I was making this, and it was hot as heck in my studio, so I was just going for it. So I did wire 12, the wire 23, wire 14, and wire 27. Yeah, and then I went in with E08, my darkest, just to give it a little bit more like curl so you could actually see it. And like I said, if you let it dry between each one, it would look even better. But I was kind of happy with how it turned out. It was kind of fun. At first I was like, oh, this is probably going to be a total mess. But once it was done, it was done. So you can always play with it. Why not? Just experiment. So once I was done the hair, her little suit, I just used B01 and B02 and just quickly blended those together, and it was done. And then I went on to do the sand. I showed this in a previous video. You just dab the marker on. The firmer you press, the bigger the spots are, and the longer you hold it, the bigger the spots are. I try not to press too hard because I don't want to wreck the nibs, even though they stand up pretty darn good over the years. But you don't want to like just smush them into the cardstock because one, it's going to smear, and two, you could totally wreck the nibs. So once I did the little sand, I'm just coloring the handle of the umbrella, E25 and then E27. And I'm not worried about, like, the darker brown just pushes out that little bit of blue that I had airbrushed. It just pushes it deeper in the cardstock, so it doesn't matter at all about that. And then you can see I've got some pattern paper that I had already stamped and cut out to use, and then I came across a little bit of an issue with how I'd stamped the umbrella. It kind of went over her head there a bit, so I came up with a solution for that. I laid down that piece of pattern paper and then laid the mask down over top of it, and then just traced out that little bit with one of my pens, and then I was able to trim it out. So that just fixed it. So I was kind of proud of that little moment there. So that just worked rather than having to like recut out like her hair and paper piece that or God knows what. Like, keep it simple. So that worked, but I'll get back to the umbrella in a bit. I want to get the card front done first. So I just used my new Memento Espresso ink and sponged all the edges of the pattern paper. And the pattern paper I'm using is the Fancy Pants Summer's End pattern paper. I've had this for I think a year. I think I got it last year. It's not new anyway. So I've got my layout, and I wanted to add some ribbons, so I grabbed my little ribbon slot punch, my Making Memories one, and I made a mark where I wanted the punch to be, and then just used that to punch out a hole in the main image because it kind of covers up a lot of the card, and there's not a whole lot of space for the ribbon. And I just grabbed, this is just some satin, kind of an orangey tangerine-y color satin ribbon that I just grabbed from my stash. So thread that through so I knew where it would go, put my adhesive on to the main image, and then press that down onto the card. So then I've got my ribbon threaded through, so that gives it enough space for the bow. So, and I think I'm pretty sure I did a video a long time ago about the ribbon slot punch. I think I did. I picked mine up at Michael's. All at Scraps carried it for a while. I think they're out of stock right now. But yeah, I'll have it linked in with all the rest of the supplies. Anyway, so I've got that. Now I'm going to finish the umbrella. So like I said, I had stamped it before I even started filming and paper pieced it with 3 different pattern papers from the same pack. And I'm just adhering, like I adhered the middle part first, and then the 2 bottom parts that you can actually see on the cardstock there. So then that way I can line up the top 2 parts that don't really have an outline for me to line the pattern paper up onto. I've just got the plan in my head of how I want all of this to look, and it's just slowly coming together here. Well, fast, since I speed up all my videos. This is like 200% speed, but you know what I'm talking about. So, got all the pieces all adhered, as always using my Tombow Mono Multi to adhere everything. So now she's got her cute little patterned umbrella. I just love it. And obviously, as always, to finish it off, to really make everything go together and just to really make this umbrella stand out, I used my W3 Copic marker and then blended that with a W1, and there you go. Like, how cool is that? I just love that. It just turned out so perfect. So sometimes you just gotta pat yourself on the back. So the umbrella's done, and now for the sentiment. The sentiment is from my Oh So Beachy stamp set, and I just stamped it onto the same green cardstock I'm using for the card front. Then using my very much loved Stampin' Up! Key Tag punch, which I'm sorry, I keep like harassing you guys with this darn thing, and it's been retired for I don't know how long now, but I love it. If someone knows of like a die or another punch that's like the same, like a key tag shape, let me know, because I would love to like forward people onto it, because it's just awesome. I just love the shape of it. It's so perfect. Anyway, so I dumped out all my brown brads, and I was going to just use 3 jumbo kind of dark brown brads just to add a little bit more embellishment. And when I was putting it away, I came across these like they're like a lighter brown, but they got kind of like an orange tint to them, so that was perfect. So I grabbed those while I was at it, and then adhered the sentiment down to where I wanted it. So once I've got that in place, and then my plan is to do a line of brads below the sentiment. So I just grabbed my little Stampin' Up! Matte pack and fiddled around with the spacing of how I want the brads to go. I'm going to alternate like large, small, large, small. So I grabbed 5 because odd numbers usually look best. So pierce my little holes. I just use my scissors to pierce the holes, since especially the jumbo brads, like they're so long and flat, it just works better. And then my AmyR brad setter to flatten them all. And then tape on the back of the ribbon so that the ATG just glides right on over that. So once I've got all the adhesive on, I'm going to adhere that to the card itself, which is a dark brown. That's why I chose the dark brown brad, so that everything kind of matches. So once I've got all that done, I'm just going to go on to the inside of the card. I'm keeping the inside super, super simple, since I went to a lot of extra effort on the outside, like paper piecing and airbrushing and all that stuff. So just keeping the inside simple. Just used over some more pattern papers leftover from doing the front, and then die cut a large white circle to write a message on, and that's all there was to it. So there'll be a link below to my blog post with links to the supplies used. And just like I say in every video, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!